who did accept the pardon and who are now out, raising hell. I mean, we've been tracking some of the insurrectionists who got out.
Moral and ethical consequences to the maximum, to include the maximum punishment for treason. We're going to, I personally guarantee.
Coming back at me and attacking me, and Tario saying that I'm got a new judge and I'm going to be arrested.
Expect to see live stream swatting raids of every single individual on that deep state target list.
I never thought I'd see the day when Trump supporters would turn against their own for refusing a presidential pardon, but that's exactly what's happening right now across America. These January 6 defendants who rejected Trump's help are showing us something powerful about conscience, accountability, and the psychological grip Trump has on his followers. Their story might be the most important thing you'll watch today. Before we move on, I'd like to ask you a small favor. If you appreciate this content, please take a second to like this video and subscribe to the channel. Over 98% of you watch the videos without subscribing. It costs you nothing, but it makes a huge difference to us. So did you click the subscribe button? Great, thank you so much. Now back to the video. Ever wonder what kind of person would say no thanks to freedom? Well, Pam Hemphill just did the unthinkable in MAGA world by telling a presidential get out of jail free card to take a hike.
Pam, you're paying a price for it, because after the pardons, which you rejected, if I'm correct, you're one of two people.
This isn't just any Trump supporter we're talking about. Pam is a 71-year-old grandmother who found herself in quite the pickle after participating in the January 6th riots at the Capitol. When most folks her age are baking cookies and posting cat pictures on Facebook, Granny Pam was busy getting herself a 60-day prison sentence and 3 years of probation. She pleaded guilty to illegally demonstrating, picketing, and parading at the Capitol. You know, normal grandmother activities. But unlike most January 6th defendants who'd give their MAGA hats for a pardon, Pam did something truly shocking.
Rejected Trump's pardons for their activities on January 6th, and that made you a target.
When Trump dangled his presidential pardon in front of her, she basically told him to shove it where the sun don't shine. She even informed her probation officer that she'd keep reporting because, get this, she didn't want Trump's pardon. That's like turning down a winning lottery ticket, except this lottery ticket came with orange fingerprints all over it. Pam described Trump's pardon as like having a bug on you that she wanted to get off. Ouch. Those are some harsh words from someone who used to worship at the altar of Trump. I guess even grandmas have their limits when it comes to political nonsense. What's even more fascinating is Pam's complete transformation from MAGA grandma to democracy warrior. These days, you can find her standing on street corners in Boise, Idaho, not exactly a liberal hotspot, holding pro-democracy signs like some kind of senior citizen revolutionary. The sight of a former Trump-loving granny waving signs about accountability probably gives local Republicans heartburn with their morning coffee. For the past year and a half, while other January 6th defendants have been crying about political persecution, Pam's been busy setting the record straight. She's made it her mission to counter all the baloney about what happened that day, armed with nothing but documented facts and first-hand experience. I went to prison because of Trump's lies and your lies, and I've been a little angry about that, she stated, showing that grandma's patience has officially run out.
I'm going to keep reporting to you because I don't want this pardon. You know what I mean? It's like having a bug on you. You want to get it off. It's like, don't give me no pardon.
In a twist that nobody saw coming, Pam has transformed into one of the most outspoken defenders of the very justice system that put her behind bars. It's like watching someone thank the dentist who just pulled their tooth without anesthesia. Uncomfortable but oddly inspiring.
Everybody, as far as I know, has received that little certificate of pardon from Trump. I haven't received one.
Of course, her former MAGA pals aren't exactly thrilled with her change of heart. The backlash has been severe, with threats and intimidation becoming part of Pam's daily reality. Former allies who gladly accepted Trump's pardon now view her as public enemy number one.
I don't want to be a part of their narrative, Ken.
Tell me how that has drawn a target on you.
Proving once again that nothing triggers Trump supporters quite like someone telling the truth. The real kicker is why Pam rejected Trump's pardon. She believes accepting it would feed into the propaganda that January 6th was just a peaceful protest gone slightly awry, when she knows firsthand it was anything but peaceful. It takes some serious grandma guts to stand up and say, no, I did something wrong and I'm going to face the consequences, when everyone around you is playing the victim card.
Who did accept the pardon and who are now out, raising hell. I mean, we've been tracking some of the insurrectionists who got out.
Turns out Pam isn't the only January 6th rioter saying thanks but no thanks to Trump's get out of jail free card. When Navy veteran Jason Riddle decided to steal a book and chug wine during his Capitol tour, he probably never imagined he'd one day refuse presidential forgiveness for his boozy souvenir hunt. But that's exactly what happened. Riddle isn't your average MAGA fanboy. Before his career as a part-time Capitol ransacker, he served in the Navy from 2006 to 2010. After that, he bounced between jobs as a corrections officer, restaurant server, and mail carrier. Talk about a diverse resume, from serving the country to serving tables to serving prison time. On January 6th, while others were busy taking selfies with cops or stealing Pelosi's lectern, Riddle had his own unique Capitol tour itinerary. He strolled into the Senate parliamentarian's office, as one does, spotted some fancy government wine, and thought, don't mind if I do. Then, because apparently alcohol makes you a bibliophile, he decided to steal a book as a memento. Nothing says I love democracy like getting drunk on government property and committing petty theft. His little adventure earned him a 90-day prison vacation and a $750 fine after pleading guilty to misdemeanors in April 2022. A small price to pay for what was surely the weirdest happy hour of his life. But here's where things get interesting. When the orange turd offered to pardon him along with other January 6th defendants, Riddle basically said, nah, I'm good. Unlike most of his riot buddies who've been begging for pardons like their free MAGA hats, Riddle wanted no part of Trump's forgiveness festival. It's almost like he was trying to say it didn't happen, Riddle explained, and it happened. I did those things and they weren't pardonable. Wow, actual accountability from a January 6th participant? Someone check if hell froze over. But Riddle's reasoning wasn't just about his moral awakening. He's also worried that a presidential pardon might actually make his life harder. I think that tends to draw more attention, he said, concerned about potential employers. Imagine that awkward job interview. So why did the former president need to pardon you? Well, funny story about some government wine. Prison apparently sobered up more than just Riddle's blood alcohol level. It changed his politics too. After getting out, he completely stopped supporting Trump, especially after the former president called for protests while facing his own criminal charges. I remember thinking, what are you doing, Trump? Riddle recalled, a bit late to the what is Trump doing party, but hey, better late than never. Before his complete political 180, Riddle even tried running as a Republican for one of New Hampshire's House seats in 2022. Spoiler alert, he didn't make it past the primary. Turns out convicted Capitol rioter isn't the vote-winning credential he thought it would be. What makes Riddle's rejection particularly remarkable is that it shows genuine acceptance of responsibility. While many January 6 defendants still insist they were just tourists who accidentally wandered into a revolution, Riddle acknowledges he messed up. He's not playing the victim card or blaming Antifa or whatever other boogeyman the MAGA crowd has invented this week. Taking responsibility like Riddle did is brave, but in MAGA world, it comes with a price tag that might cost you everything. For Pam Hemphill, rejecting Trump's pardon wasn't just about standing on principle. It's turned her into public enemy number one among her former allies. And let me tell you, these folks aren't just unfriending her on Facebook.
The good people President Trump characterized them as, and they have been coming after you in just the last few hours, right?
Right.
Enrique Tarrio, the former leader of the Proud Boys who's currently shopping for prison jumpsuits, has been publicly targeting Hemphill online. He's not just ranting to his followers, he's actually tagging Trump officials like Kash Patel in these threats.
Boys Enrique Tarrio has been arrested on Capitol Hill. All right, U.S. Capitol Police say the arrest happened about 2:30 this afternoon, right after a news conference that was held.
Nothing says totally normal political movement like a felon organizing harassment campaigns against grandmothers, right? The threats Hemphill has received go way beyond mean tweets. She's been told she'll be arrested by a new judge, whatever that means, and her name has been added to lists maintained by extremist groups. You know you've made it in MAGA world when you get your own special place on a revenge spreadsheet.
Coming back at me and attacking me, and Tarrio saying that I've got a new judge and I'm going to be arrested.
But the real cherry on this Paranoia Sunday comes in the form of Ivan Racklin, who carries the totally not made up title of Trump's Minister of Retribution. I'm not joking, that's actually what they call him.
Deep state target list, and I'm coming for all of them. And what does that mean when I say coming for all of them?
Racklin maintains what he calls a deep state target list and has threatened to conduct live stream swatting raids against people who've made his naughty list. Nothing says law and order quite like threatening to send armed goons to people's houses while broadcasting it for entertainment, am I right? Racklin isn't being subtle about these threats either. He's straight up declared there are 80,000 of us that are ready, willing, and able in order to be deputized by appropriate sheriffs throughout the country to conduct a live stream swatting raid of every single person that we can identify that conducted the necessary unlawful activity by county on my deep state target list.
Moral and ethical consequences to the maximum, to include the maximum punishment for treason. We're going to, I personally guarantee,
80,000 vigilantes ready to kick in doors. That's not a political movement, that's a private army.
There's 80,000 of us that are ready, willing, and able in order to be deputized by appropriate sheriffs throughout the country.
Even more disturbing is what Hemphill calls Plan B, a shadow legal system being constructed by Racklin and Michael Flynn. They're allegedly recruiting what they call constitutional sheriffs with the goal of forming their own grand juries to try people for treason outside the actual legal system. These groups, which have connections to extremist Ammon Bundy, believe they can gather enough support to arrest officials and conduct their own trials for perceived traitors. Think about that for a second. These aren't just keyboard warriors making empty threats. They're building parallel institutions to replace the ones they can't control. It's like they're taking the concept of a kangaroo court and giving it an American flag pin. For Hemphill, the threat isn't theoretical. She's genuinely concerned about her safety, and the most chilling part is her uncertainty about who can protect her.
Person that we can identify that conducted the necessary unlawful activity by county. Expect to see live streamed swatting raids of every single individual on that deep state target list.
Who would I talk to about this? She asks. With Trump's allies now running federal agencies, the very institutions designed to protect citizens from threats might be controlled by the same people issuing those threats. As if Hemphill wasn't already facing enough danger from MAGA extremists, she's now stepping into a legal twilight zone that has constitutional scholars reaching for their dusty law books.
But what they were actually doing was going around and trying to have recruit constitutional sheriffs.
Here's the million-dollar question. Can you actually tell the president thanks but no thanks when he tries to pardon you? In the nearly 250-year history of presidential pardons, almost nobody has formally rejected one, until now.
Torrio did get 22 years because he was just playing around, right? So his case was serious.
Hemphill isn't just making angry social media posts about Trump's offer. She's planning to file an actual legal letter rejecting his pardon, something that's about as common in American legal history as a politician turning down free money. University of St. Thomas law professor Mark Osler calls this exactly what it is, a novel act to file a court case to reject a pardon of a misdemeanor. In other words, we're in uncharted waters here, folks. The legal experts are more divided than a family at Thanksgiving dinner discussing politics. Some point to a crusty old Supreme Court ruling from 1833, later upheld in 1915, stating that pardon recipients can actually turn down the president's mercy if they want to. But former federal prosecutors argue the complete opposite.
And I'm not stopping. When they put out their lies, I put the fact, not an opinion or,
Saying pardons and commutations work like that sweater your grandma gave you for Christmas. Whether you want it or not, it's yours to keep. What makes this whole situation extra spicy is the scale of Trump's pardon palooza. This isn't just about one or two people. Grumpy Trumpy announced a blanket pardon for around 1,500 January 6th defendants. That's like trying to give everyone at a stadium the same birthday present without asking if they want it first. Courts have never had to deal with a mass pardon rejection movement before.
Spent time in prison, but has since been one of the most outspoken advocates for democracy.
The legal implications are making constitutional experts' heads spin faster than Fox News trying to explain Trump's latest gaffe. If Hemphill and others can legally reject these pardons, it fundamentally changes how we understand presidential power. Suddenly, the pardon isn't an all-powerful magic wand that erases accountability. It's more like an offer that citizens can evaluate based on their own moral compass. Think about what this means for a second. A president can't just wave away crimes committed in his name if the people who committed those crimes don't want forgiveness. It's like Trump is standing there with his pardon pen saying, "I hereby declare you innocent." And Hemphill is responding with, "Yeah, no thanks. I'd rather face the consequences of my actions." That's not just legally unprecedented, it's a giant orange-faced embarrassment for a man whose entire brand is built on loyalty and power. For Trump, these rejections are more than just a legal headache. They're a direct challenge to his narrative about January 6th. Every time someone like Hemphill or Riddle says, "I did something wrong and I don't want your pardon," they're essentially telling the world that Trump's perfect and peaceful protest story is complete baloney sandwich. And that's the kind of first-hand testimony that no amount of Truth Social ranting can override.
What's important, it's like a little fire in the kitchen, and if you put it out right away, the whole house won't go on fire.
The most fascinating part is how this legal battle perfectly captures America's current struggle between accountability and authoritarianism. When pardons become political weapons rather than tools of justice, rejecting them becomes an act of democratic resistance. What started as a grandma's moral stand in Idaho might end up in constitutional law textbooks as the case that redefined presidential power limits.
Their plan B, right? With Ivan Racklin and Michael Flynn, all of them, and now they're all in it.
When even the rioters themselves reject Trump's pardons, America should take notice. Here we have 2/3 of Americans already opposing January 6th pardons, showing most of us still believe violent insurrection shouldn't get a free pass.
Because they believe under the Constitution, to them it's all real, that they have a right to form their own grand jury.
But what's truly wild is hearing Jason Riddle, an actual participant, say his actions weren't pardonable. Talk about admitting you messed up. The MAGA crowd isn't used to one of their own breaking ranks and choosing accountability over blind loyalty. But this is exactly what moral courage looks like. Ordinary people putting truth above tribe. Riddle even worried a pardon would draw more attention to his actions. He'd rather own his mistakes than pretend they never happened. In the battle between cult-like devotion and basic American values, these pardon rejections remind us that sometimes the most patriotic thing you can do is simply tell the truth, even when your own side doesn't want to hear it.